in session. Call to order the February 28th AMATS Policy Committee meeting. It's approximately 1 o'clock. Edwards is here, Campbell is here, Sullivan is here. Birch should be joining us. It sounds like Flynn will be absent, so we'll make a note when Birch joins us, please. Craig, can you do our public involvement announcement?
You bet. All of the AMATS meetings are public meetings. The public is invited to comment on any of the items we have before us. If we have a business item, we will have a presentation by staff or a consultant. Then the committee will be given an opportunity to discuss the item, and then at that point, the public will be invited to comment if they wish to.
Thanks. Thank you. We have in front of us an agenda with 7 items on it.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any objections? Seeing none. Agenda is approved. We have minutes from August 23rd, 2012.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any objections? None. Minutes are approved. Business items. Our first business item is the AMATS Air Quality Advisory Committee appointments.
So we have 2 reappointments of people who are on the committee right now and 1 new appointment. We also had some changes that we did to the bylaws. We used to have an IM rep on the committee, but obviously that industry has gone away right now. So Bruce Lee was the IM rep, and now he is a public member. So those are one of the changes. And then the new member is Neil Thallaker. And there's a quick little snippet on him there, retired electrical engineer, etc. So the TAC met and recommended approval of these 2 reappointments and 1 new appointment. So it's before you.
To be clear, Mr. Lee was on as the IM member, and now he's on as the public member.
That is correct.
And Conway has left town, and so we need to find a replacement for him. Is that correct?
Yes.
Also in the future?
Yes, Dr. Conway's, I believe he's inside at the bottom there. He's in extended assignment in China, so not going to make a call in.
Works for the school board.
I know that.
Does it?
If you want to call out a Kwajalein Atoll, it works.
You
Okay.
need a motion for approval of these appointments,
I
one as
think so.
one or separately?
I guess I would take them either way you want to do it.
Standard practice in the past has been to approve the slate unless there was some discussion either on one of them individually.
Move to approve the 3 appointments.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any comment from the public on these proposed additions and renewals to the Air Quality Commission? None? Any comments or discussion from the body in front of us? No? Okay. Seeing no objections, those will be approved. Next item is the 2011-14 TIP Admin Mod number 5.
So we took this administrative modification before the TAC, I believe, a couple months ago. It was approved by them. In between their meeting and yours, there were some modifications to the allocation that came to AMATS. And so we brought this back through the TAC again with those changes. On the memo here before you, you'll see the recommendations that they had related to this. And in addition, we also have another memo behind it labeled 5B that talks about some changes that Transit has requested. And these are things that, these items here from Transit did not go through the TAC, but I'll explain them real quickly, and I think you'll see that they're relatively minor, and so it would be fine to have the policy committee adopt them. The staff and folks decided that as minor as they are, we could do another admin mod, but it seemed like kind of a long extension of what needed to be done. Basically, what they have is they have a certain dollar figure, this $580,000 that's in the current tip, and the dollar figure is staying the same. They're just changing the allocation. Instead of 480 in fleet replacement, it's 330. So instead of 100 in the ITS automated operating system, it's 250. So they're changing the same dollar figure. In addition, the proposal is to add one sentence to the project description in there in italics, it says provide day-to-day operational support to all ITS projects. Just allows them the flexibility of using their funds in this manner to provide that operational support. This Table 7 is not part of the financially constrained portion of the TIP. These are not the part of the AMATS allocation. These are FTA funds, 5307 funds that we don't decide the allocation of. So, but it's in our TIP because these are federal funds. So staff recommends that additional dollar changes in the language. The rest of it has been approved by the TAC. So it's all before you today.
So, question. So, to Mr. Wilbur, this means you'll be replacing fewer fleet vehicles.
That's right.
How many, and what does that do to your schedule of fleet replacement?
It doesn't do anything because we benefit from we received a stated good repair grant, and we're going to be using those competitive monies that we won to support our fleet enhancement. So no changes to the fleet chain.
Very good, thank you.
I have a couple questions as well, but let me open it up. Let's take this one at a time. Let's talk about the fleet modification here first, and then we'll talk about the big one second. Okay, so on the first one, does anybody from the crowd have any questions from the public? Okay, I have a couple of questions. Number one, Craig, why didn't this go through the TAC? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that tough.
I don't think we were, well, at the time, we weren't aware of it.
It
when
just
we
came
had
out,
our
right?
admin mod, yeah.
Okay, between the meetings, okay. And then the second thing, Mr. Wilbur, what additional services are being provided when it says day-to-day operational support that's not being provided now?
But none, but we were just adding clarity because Safety Lou and MAP 21 allow us to use 5307 funds for daily support of it, but in case there was a question in the text, we just thought to add clarity.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the committee here? Motion on this one? Anybody wants to make one?
Oh, I'll move that we approve the Table 7 transit modifications for the administrative modification number 5 to the 2011-2014 TIP. Does that work?
Great.
Sounds great. Moved and seconded. Any objections from the committee? Seeing none, that's approved. Okay, let's move on to the second one. So can you walk us through this also, Mr. Long, a little bit, and tell us if there's anything significant going on here? There's some bigger numbers on this one than the first one.
Right, so it's just the dollar figures in our allocation have changed a little bit. They're in red on the backside here. If you look at the dollar figures in the financially constrained portion of the TIP, that would be Table 3. That's the main thing where you have the payment replacement program. Those are, you can see what was in Amendment 4, which is the last one we adopted, and what we're proposing here in the admin mod. The dollar figure in payment replacement was in 2013, $13,902,000, and now we have it split over the 2 years there. And the Dowling West, you can see that just the dollar figures moved around a little bit. That's the Table 3 portion, which is your fiscally constrained portion. That's the part of the AMATS allocation. In Table 6, in MAP 21, it now allows, well, now the language in there basically says, we used to just have the National Highway System, the NHS routes, which would be 5th and 6th Avenue, Tudor, Muldoon, et cetera. Now, basically, any, I believe it's major arterial and above, can be considered part of the National Highway System, and therefore, we can spend some of our funding on that, and the state can spend their funding on. They can use their NHS funds on what used to be just an arterial, but now can be considered part of the NHS. So some of the state's money is being used for the Diamond Boulevard resurfacing, and it wasn't before. So again, that's outside the fiscally constrained portion of the TIP, outside the AMATS allocation, but federal funds in Anchorage, they need to be noted here in the TIP. And then in Table 8, we updated the language, or not the language, but the dollar figure that we showed for the Diamond Center intermodal parking facility. This was a safety Lou earmark. We just updated the carryover amount. Again, this is an earmark that for the 5 years of Safety Lou provided these funds. These funds have been obligated but not spent yet. So just that was earmark money that was received during the life of that authorization bill. So those are your basic changes there. Table 1 stuff is just updating the rest of the 3 tables below. Those are the summary tables, Table 1. So.
Thank you. Does anybody from the public care to make some comments or questions on that? Ringing sounds. Okay, Mr. Birch.
Maybe a
look like you have-
clarification on the intermodal parking facility, the Diamond Center. I know that's popped up. So, when you say nothing's happened on it yet, so how long does that carry over?
I don't know, Lance, did you,
It doesn't, Chris, it does not have an expiration date. It's when it was created as an earmark. It doesn't have an expiration date. And so we want to make sure that we show the proper amount of the carryover dollars because it was an earmark in 2006, I think, or 2007.
But the objective at one time was to have, I remember talking to Hugh Ashlock about
Right.
this, and at one time they were going to have a railroad, some sort of a railroad connection.
They had a $30 million idea with $3 million. So we're going to go out and help them put $3 million in the ground this year and next to improve our transit service out there. And we've been working with Hugh and the Diamond Center to make sure that what we do now and in the future, if there's an opportunity to put an intermodal center connected with the railroad, there's nothing that we're doing that would preclude that. We would not have to tear it up.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Motion?
So I'll move that we approve the 2011-2014 TIP administrative modifications presented in this memo.
Second.
Moved and second. Any comments or discussion? Any objections? So approved. So that brings us to the AMATS Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee appointments.
so the Bike and Ped Committee was formed I think last year sometime, and we approved a full slate of folks to be on that committee. Since then, we have two changes that need to be, come through this committee here. We have the Anchorage School District position. It's basically an ex officio position, someone over there that has the opportunity to come over and help us out. The person that they originally picked was unable to come to the meetings. I think it was due to the fact that the meetings were outside of work hours and they couldn't get paid for that. So their boss, who is like a lot of us exempt, was able to come to these. So the appointment here is Marty Elkins. She is the Director of School District Transportation. And so she said that she'd be happy to come and serve and help us out on that committee. So that's a new appointment. And then one of our public members, her job changed and she was unable to attend our meetings as well. So one of the people that had originally applied for one of the 4 seats is Todd Logan, who you probably will recognize, and he's been to a lot of our meetings. And so we figured, since he had already applied once, we probably could wrap him into attending and agreeing to serve, at which he thankfully did. So those 2 appointments went through the TAC, and they recommended the approval as well. So for you today.
It's still a requirement, they have to own a fat tire bike to,
I didn't see that in his credentials. Cyclist, I don't see that.
Bet you he does.
might own that. See a lot of those fat tire bikes moving around.
So do we have any particular comments from the public on either of these 2 nominees for the Bike and Ped Advisory Committee? Seeing none, any comments from the committee?
This one.
There is a comment, I'm sorry. Oh,
Thank you. I am Todd Logan, one of the people that you are considering for this. I am interested in Anchorage transportation issues and somewhat knowledgeable. As a result, I do routinely attend both this meeting as well as the PAC. If this group should choose to have me participate in a slightly more formal fashion by being on that committee, I'd be happy to do so. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, anything else from the committee? Any comments, questions? Mr. Sullivan?
Well, I do appreciate Mr. Logan. He does participate in most of these meetings, and it's good to have concerned citizens, and I think he'd be a great addition to the team there, so we're support.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the recommendations for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee appointments.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any objections from the committee? Seeing none, passed. Okay, do we have any other business today, Mr. Ron?
None that I know of.
Okay, informational reports? Almost scintillating odd report?
This is your guy. This is Mr. Rudolph will present that for you.
Okay.
All right, this is the colorful sheet that you have in front of you. Basically, I'll just outline what this is real quickly. This is a list of all the projects that are in the currently approved TIP. The first colored column, the tannish color, is what's in the admin modification 5, the amounts that we anticipate to obligate. The green is what we've obligated so far, and the blue is what we have yet and what we anticipate to obligate. So in reality, you want those green and blue columns to line up and match the tan column, and we do that through a list of obligations and de-obligations. So just to point out a few things, the third one down on Eagle River Road rehab, we're de-obligating $3.6 million. That's due to a low bid from what our engineer's estimate was. On O'Malley Road, we have yet to obligate the $1 million that we anticipate for right-of-way. 2 down from that, the pavement replacement program. We have 2 projects that we anticipate to obligate. We have the A Street resurfacing project and a design phase for Eagle River Road, milepost 0 to 5.3. Dowling, 2 down from there, that's the big one this year. We have $16 million in the TIP. We need to AC some money from next year's program. We need about $22 million that we have to obligate this year, plus the ACs and plus the earmarks to get that funded. And we'll see how that comes together at the end here. The safety improvement program, we're on track to obligate what's in the TIP there. And the freight mobility study at the very bottom there, we're looking for the local match to obligate that one. So hopefully fairly soon. On the next page, we have another small de-obligation for Jewel Lake Road. That's just because we closed the project. On table 4, transportation enhancements, everything is on schedule there. We had a slight overrun on Muldoon Road we had to cover. And then 2 de-obs towards the bottom. Congestion mitigation air quality on the bottom of this page, and on the third page, everything is going to line up with what we have in the TIP. With the exception of the arterial roadway dust control, about halfway down the page. We just now programmed 2012 money for that program. They have more than enough to get through 12 and 13, so we'll worry about 13 money later when we have to start the project, but we don't anticipate obligating that $200,000. Then if you go to the 4th page, this is where we total it all up, and in the red box, you can see that we're about $3.9 million short right now of obligating everything. So that's basically Dowling Road. We're about $3.9 million short on Dowling Road. We anticipate to have another $4 million in de-obligations over the course of this fiscal year to cover that. So we should be right on track and have just enough money to squeeze that project out this year. We do have some open construction projects too at the same time. So typically de-obligations, they cover construction overruns and the shortfall. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and this is only the first quarter of the fiscal year. So we think we're in good shape right now to cover all of our obligations. The next 2 tables down are just for informational item. We have NHS projects that Craig kind of mentioned briefly on how those work. Those are state-funded projects and what we anticipate to obligate there. And then some GF projects that we've obligated with some general fund money. Nothing that needs your approval. This is an informational item at this time, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rudolph. Does anybody from the public have any questions for Mr. Rudolph on his presentation here of these numbers? Committee members, any questions? Mr. Birch?
Just because it's kind of the topic of the day on sequestration, is this all far enough? Is this all pretty well insulated from all this sequestration discussion? I mean, capital projects?
The short answer is yes. Right now, the sequestration is expected to have less than 1% effect on our federal dollars, and so by the time it comes through to AMATS, it's pennies.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
anything else, Mr. Sullivan?
On Dowling Road, is this the final phase?
Yeah, this is phase 2, C Street to Minnesota.
And this will finish the whole connection?
Yes, mhm.
We're still a few million short, you're saying?
Still a few million short right now. We cover it with de-ops hopefully.
Is there, I can't remember if there's grant requests in at the state for any of this final phase?
No, this is all federal. We do have a follow-on project to fix the intersection there at Minnesota, the on-ramp, that we'll be looking for GF money on, but that's considered like phase 3 or 2A, whatever you want to call it.
And this probably isn't a question for you, but I'm going to ask anyway. 88th Avenue upgrade, Spruce Brook to Elmore. we've had a lot of consternation from Senator Meyer about this road because we maintain part of it, the state maintains part of it, and it's never quite clear why that works out that way. Do you know why?
I'm not off the top of my head, I don't know why. We have a lot of roads like that, it seems that even we own some and then the state maintains it and the community owns it. And
I know that we are moving forward with a design package on 88th right now in our shop, so we're also discussing that with Senator Meyer frequently.
Yeah, on this particular one, he had pretty good heartburn because it just made no sense to him that we stop at a certain point and then you
Well,
guys pick it up.
there was $1 million that had been appropriated and it kind of got bounced around for a couple of years, and I think that at least now the project's got traction, and my understanding, he's a little happier now that it's moving.
Okay.
So I think that's good.
That's good. Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Rudolph? Thanks, Bart. Okay, next on our informational reports, we've got a freight mobility update.
Good afternoon, Chair Campbell. My name is Teresa Brewer, and I serve as the liaison to the Freight Advisory Committee and AMATS Transportation Planner. And currently, the Freight Advisory Committee is working on some draft tip criteria. The federal mandate for MAP 21 is moving freight up to the forefront. And so the areas that we're looking at to include are safety and accessibility primarily, and making some of those intermodal connections. That effort has been strongly supported and recommended by FHWA Alaska Division. Recently, we took a airport tour of the facilities at the 732nd Air Mobility Squadron. And for those who might want to do that in the future, it was really awesome. We got to see their transloading facility, their operations. We got the briefing from Lieutenant Colonel King. We went and saw their maintenance guys, and then we went over to the airside passenger terminal for required seat availability and Space A and Space R for your military folks. So we got to see all their operations and see where the senators get to come in and the president, where it is. So it was wonderful. Master Sergeant Holmes is one of our Freight Advisory Committee members, so he arranged that with the 732nd. We are also
Riding around in a de-icing truck.
Yes.
Yes.
We got to sit in some booms and get in the uke and all kinds of really cool stuff. So they were very generous in hosting that for us on our behalf. As Bart mentioned, we're trying to find some local match for freight mobility study. We're looking for about 15,000. And for those of you who might know, the state is working toward a state freight plan also. And it would be really great to have one for the AMATS area because I'm sure it would inform the state freight plan as a lot of freight moves in and out of here. So we're looking for about 15,000, and the last major freight study occurred in 2001 for Anchorage. So it's probably time to take a really close look at that. We also have been working with Public Works. They stopped by and gave an update to the Freight Advisory Committee on the Ship Creek Kings Landing pedestrian improvement project. And so the Freight Advisory Committee was able to provide some really good insights on some of the pedestrian crossings that occur in that area, look at some of the conflicts that they potentially have, and maybe look at some temporary fencing to the north side near the Alaska Railroad parking lot there. Apparently that's kind of an issue, especially when some of the oversized vehicles come through there. They just can't see everyone. So Isabel Roy has been working closely with that Freight Advisory Committee. And then recently we worked with the Alaska Department of Transportation, Public Facilities, Commercial Vehicle Enforcement folks, big words there. And we did a live roadside inspection at their weights and measures facility out at Highland, and took a look at how they inspect the freight vehicles, and they just happened to have an accident there, so they got to see the weigh-in motion stuff, and so really good for them, especially with the new FMCSA regulations on commercial vehicles. And if you have any other questions, also been working with Vivian on some freight safety videos. I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the public? Board members, any questions from Ms. Brewer? Thank you. Oh, wait.
Not a question, just a comment. I really appreciate the freight study group meeting with the Ship Creek Landing folks, because we're really trying to enhance the public experience down there, which will draw more people down there and more cars, and so that interaction is very important. And quite frankly, hadn't really thought much about it when we first started planning on how to enhance Ship Creek down there, but obviously right in the middle of the industrial zone, very important, so I appreciate you guys' work on
You're
it.
welcome, and I know that the Ship Creek Waterfront Plan, Master Plan, the RFP was set for that, and that consultant will be selected shortly, and so the Freight Advisory Committee is working with John Bittner.
In fact, the consultant has been selected. It's Kling Stubbins, an international architectural firm that's designed waterfronts and redeveloped railroad yards all around the world, and they're just an amazing firm, so we're really looking forward to their work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Innovative outreach using video.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Present
My name
that.
is Vivian Underwood. I'm a transportation planner with AMATS and municipality. This is a little change of pace for you all, so you can just relax for a little bit. Federal planning regulations require NPOs such as AMATS to use visualization techniques in reaching out to the public and in describing our metropolitan transportation plans. And FHWA certification reviewers look to see that we are doing that with our public involvement as well. We've done a good job with that with our public transportation plans and in our meetings. This last year, we've been looking at using video to do some different things. Video can be used to change an image of something or an organization. It can be used to sell a product or a service. It can be used to document meetings, and it can also be used to educate the public, which is one of the things that the Public Transportation Department did this past year. They produced a video called How to Ride the Bus, and it's an award-winning interactive video. It won a national award through the Davy Awards, which is for smaller budgets and smaller organizations, and it's adjudicated by the International Academy of Visual Arts, which is very prestigious. So it was done largely with in-house staff and with 170 hours of volunteer time, with a contract with MSI Communications. So I'm going to show you, not all of it, it's a 15-minute video, and it's broken up into different chapters, and it covered different topics such as routes and scheduling, accessibility for people in wheelchairs, and that type of thing. It's very well done. And I looked online to see what other NPOs have done along these lines. There really isn't anything comparable to what Public Transportation Department has done. Other people in Los Angeles and Phoenix have done music videos that are animated to help reach the public with things like how to ride the bus and how to use right rail and how to use the passes. But really, this really stands out among everything else that's out there. And a year ago, I started writing songs, and I've written about 24 songs in the space of 5 months, and it occurred to me that it would be fun to do some music videos. And so I worked with...
to sing the one, I think.
Thank you. Well, I worked with Solid Waste Services this year to produce a video called Trash Day Blues, and it has an educational piece as well. It's amusing, it's entertaining, but it does have an educational piece for how proper placement of the carts on the street. And it was ranked first runner-up to Best Music Video at the Fairbanks Film Festival in January. So I got the idea to do some for transportation planning, and I want to show you one that I just did. It's called Highway Blues, Plan B, and it's supposed to reach out to people who are dedicated drivers of their private vehicles. So that was largely done on a volunteer basis as well. I paid to have the song produced in a professional studio, and these were all filmed either on lunch hour or after hours on weekends, or I took leave to do that. So I just wanted you all to know that these videos are well done, I think, but also a lot of volunteer time. So if you're up for it, I'd like to show you one chapter of this, and then we'll look at Highway Blues. You will recognize some of the talent in the second one, I'm sure.
Is it talent with quotations?
Giant quotations.
Yes.
Hopefully you won't recognize some of them.
Thank you,
Are you
Lance.
disguised, are you?
Clearly not enough.
Now, this is the AMATS Facebook page, and we're constantly updating it. So far, we have, well, Teresa has a lot of information on here about these great tours that she's giving, And here's some pictures from Jay Bear. And then we have the video, How to Ride the Bus. And there's a great driver and bicyclist safety education video. Something we're going to be doing this year is updating or doing that kind of video with a local flair, using local, recognizable local talent. And then the other videos are here below. I'm going to go to the People Mover website, though, to go to this chapter on routes and schedules. Oh, no. We can check the audio. I'm so sorry. That's okay.
What he said was. But you'll have to sing now.
Well, oops.
I can hear something.
Sorry.
You used to.
This visualization, so you're just visualizing now.
I'm sorry. We didn't.
I see an X down in the screen in the corner, if that's for sound or something. Does that mean anything there? Does that, click that? Nope, never mind, it's
I
wireless.
apologize. I thought we had this all set up and,
Yeah, I like the visual.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, but call Joy real quick.
Can you just do the audio out of your laptop?
Well, you should. Well, where is it?
Next one over.
Next
Go
one over.
It's like the third one in the bottom.
I don't think you have your
It's that one,
audio.
you
I
open
don't
that
think you have it
one,
plugged
and
in.
then I click on.
Oh, it's on
it says
mute, on the
mute.
bottom left.
Just then click that.
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right.
Let me just, do you mind if I just start it over?
No.
Go
Go
ahead.
for it.
It doesn't look like you have it plugged into the overhead though.
Does this need to be plugged in?
No.
It's a reach.
I got knocked out of YouTube. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry. We'll go to Anchorage.
All right.
And I'm the ITS person. This is pretty pathetic.
Routes and schedules, almost there.
People Mover has several routes that serve destinations throughout Anchorage.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
There are several tools available to help you plan your trip, including system maps, individual route maps, and route schedules. These can be found in the People Mover Ride Guide, available in transit centers and municipal libraries, online at peoplemover.org, and at individual bus stops. Locate your starting point and your destination on the system map. Look to see what routes serve your destination. Decide whether you can make the trip on one direct route or if you'll need to transfer. If you need to transfer and you're new to riding the bus, we recommend you use one of the transit centers as your transfer point. After you've found your route, look at its schedule to see what pickup times will work for you. Determine if the route is traveling inbound, toward downtown, or outbound, away from downtown. Make sure you're looking at the correct schedule for weekdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Using the individual route map, determine the time point before your stop. Then look at the schedule to find your departure time in the column corresponding to that time point. Remember, there are many bus stops between time points. There are several online tools that can also be helpful. People Mover's website has route maps and schedules, as well as information on rider policies, programs, and events. Check it out at www.peoplemover.org. Bus Tracker provides estimated GPS monitoring of your bus so you can see where it is along the route. Click on the red bus bulb and you'll see if your bus is running on time. Click on your bus stop and see when the next departure times are. Simply log on to peoplemover.org and click on the Bus Tracker link. My Neighborhood is a site developed by the municipality for residents to locate various municipal services. Type in an address or cross streets and choose local services from the drop-down menu to find bus routes and stops nearby. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are great places to find news and information about People Mover or get tips from other riders. You'll find us with a quick search for Anchorage People Mover. You can call People Mover customer service for help with trip planning and other information to help your ride go smoothly. 343-6543 for assistance.
That's great. So what's the market, I mean, is that on a TV PSA, or is it just you just push people to the website?
It has been on Channel 10. It's also on the People Mover website, and it's linked to YouTube. And they've had about 800 hits so far. It's been on the web for about a year. And they also make it available to people on a DVD. People can take it home to look at. It's been translated into 3 different languages. So it's great.
Yeah.
And hope to give it some more exposure also by doing things like this. Well, this next one is a totally different thing. I've never actually seen anybody, any other MPO do a video like this, but it's more entertaining, but it does have a purpose. And I do hope that we could reach out to some younger people too, and let people know that we do, it's okay to have fun and still get a message across. So go to the AMATS.
Oh, wait, I gotta go.
Yeah. No, my link disappeared.
Sorry, we can't find this.
I've never seen one on my Facebook. So
This is highway. I hope you can hear this.
Well, it was smooth as silk on the highway that morning. Everything was copacetic, bent without warning. I was headed to work
There you go.
in my pickup truck. Some jerk hit me in there, I was stuck. Took too long a time for the police report. I was worried I'd be late showing up for work. So I got my baby to the shop right away. Then called my friends for a ride that day. I had the highway blues. Yeah, the highway blues. I had the highway blues. It wasn't getting any better. Well, Susie was busy. Amy didn't care. It got on my nerves. She just said, boy, you lean on me too much. How about this once you just take the bus? Well, I didn't know how, but I wouldn't admit it. Besides, what's a guy like me doing taking trend? It's not my style, doesn't fit my image. If I'm seen on the bus, it could do a lot of damage. I had the highway blues. Yeah, the highway blues. I had the highway blues. It wasn't getting any better. I had to get to work, so I quick found out how to take the bus on the closest route. It was pretty easy using my computer. Before I knew it, I was a bus commuter. Paying was easy, found my seat. Dropped the jump on my key. I pushed right by.
See the characters on the bus.
Found it, he was in the same jam. No doubt about it. Highway blues. Yeah, the
That's my
highway
queen.
blues. Had the highway blues. Wasn't getting any better. Well, we had a good time, just a shooting the breeze.
Oh, you do.
admit it, I felt right at ease. It was good to slow down after that wreck. Get ready for work with an email check. Well, we got off the bus at the same destination. Turned out being a good situation. I still love my baby back at the shop, but for now I'm a commuter at the bus stop. I have the highway blues. Yeah, I have the highway blues. I have the highway blues. But now it's getting better. I have the highway blues. Yeah, the highway blues. Those old highway blues. But now it's getting better. Yeah.
Nicely done.
BuzzBiz did the editing. It did, AMATS did pay for like under less than $500 for editing, but I don't think that's too exorbitant. Thank you so much.
Interesting, yeah.
One of the videos that we linked to on the website was a video done by Hidalgo County MPO in Westlaco, Texas. And it's basically a video of it's the weatherman in town there who is riding his bike and kind of giving some rules of the road of what bikes are supposed to do and what cars are supposed to do. It seems to me, at least in this town, there's a large conflict between bikes and cars in terms of what the actual rules of the road are, what Title IX, which is the municipal ordinance relating to traffic laws, is. And so what I'd like to do is create something similar, find someone locally well-known who rides their bike from time to time, or maybe something like that, who would get on the bike and do the same sort of video, so.
Singing while on the
Sing,
bike.
yes, sing.
I'm not sure about the singing yet, so.
I think Todd Logan would be good for that.
Todd Logan is well-known to AMATS. I'm not sure that he's well-known to a lot of other folks outside the troop. He should be, but
Could be great.
could be his big break.
Great.
The break, now that he's retired and he has more time, so. Anyway, that's one of the things I'd like to do in the future with AMATS is more of that visualization in terms of, in getting PSAs. We did a PSA years ago on the I Am program, when that was still around. It was all these folks saying, I am. You know, Governor Hammond was in it, and there's some other folks in there, you know, kind of convincing people to go and register their call and all that sort of stuff. So this would be something similar.
It's good. Thanks, Dwayne.
A question, just a general question on the bus. How much luggage can you drag onto the bus with you,
That's a great question, and I have to defer to Mr. Wilbur because I don't know.
First one's free, second one's $25, man. We're keeping up with the airlines. You're allowed 2 carry-ons. No.
There's no limit? I mean, so if somebody gets on or...
The rules are you need to be able to at least put it under your seat or in your lap. You can't use it to put, to block the aisle
So
or
if
to take a
you
seat.
have a big giant hockey bag and hockey gear, you can't ride the bus?
No, we'll let you ride. Because frankly, in the summertime, we get a lot of tourists that come in and they have more than one piece of luggage.
Sure,
They obviously
that's
can't obey
kind
those
of
rules, and we let them ride. But make adjustments.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other comments or questions for the video crew, team?
You got a bright future in the video world.
Oh, thank you.
He's talking to you, not me, though. I don't know. That's interesting.
Signing autographs.
Good. Okay, so we've come to the exciting conclusion where we get to have individual committee comments. Mr. Birch, anything for the good of the body here?
I'm good.
Mr. Mayor? Edwards?
I have one thing today.
Okay.
I just, an update on the carbon monoxide limit maintenance plan. My department adopted that on the 22nd, so it's heading over to Department of Law and then on to the Lieutenant Governor, so it's moving right along. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I make one quick announcement?
Sure.
So as you know, we're in the process of creating our new tip. And the first step in that is to look at the criteria that we use to rank and score projects and update them, see if they need some tweaking, and then make sure that they're updated based on the recent and current federal legislation. So we've had, with just staff, we've had probably, I guesstimate, around 8 hours worth of work put into all 3 sets of criteria to try and tweak them and make them more objective for the most part. We do have a work session coming up. It is March 11th from 1 to 3. It's in the training room out at the Permit Center off of Elmore. Everyone's invited. Typically, this is a TAC-driven creature, but I did send out a meeting announcement about a week or so ago to invite anyone who wanted to come to it on the committees. So it'd be an opportunity to show staff, we'll present what we've come up with, and folks will get their opportunity to tweak those. So March 11th, 1 to 3 in the training room.
Okay. Clarification, did you say you're trying to make the criteria more subjective?
Objective.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to make it less subjective. Yeah. I might have said subjective. And I looked at, in the work that we're doing now to tweak those, I looked at a bunch of different criteria from MPOs around the country.
Good.
Boston, down in the Portland area, et cetera, and I like the ones that we have. I think we might want to see if we can cut down the number we have. We have 21, which is a lot, but I mean, it does give a really good basis for ranking and scoring all those projects. But comparing them to the ones around the country, I think ours are really good. I like them. So
Good. So
We're not doing it in the back.
now. Do we have a public comment period on those criteria as well?
when we release them, which we haven't yet, but when we release them for a 30-day public review, our plan is to release them at the April TAC meeting. I can't remember the exact date of it now, but 11th, 14th, something like that. So we'll release them then for a 30-day review.
Thank you. Any other further committee comments?
Hey,
I guess
Rob.
we've got our.
Can I just make one quick announcement?
Go ahead.
Just give you a little liberty.
Sure.
I'd like to introduce Christine Sunday. Christine is the new planning manager for transit planning. She joined our team last week, and we're really happy to have her aboard. She's from Ohio, but she also had a stay at the Wichita MPO, so a lot of experience in the MPO and the federal regs, and just wanted to put a face to a name and welcome her aboard.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. Good to see you. All right, we've got our next couple meetings listed on here. As of today, we're adjourned.